commissioner has to make an example of someone before someone gets killed.
You can't bring firearms to the facilities. You can't bring them on the team bus.
Over the scores table and is trying to get down to the bench.
We all know that the NBA is full of drama and intense moments, but sometimes players take things too far. And that's when the NBA dishes out some of the most severe punishments in sports. From some of the craziest moments on the court to unbelievable actions that got players kicked off the court for a long time. These are the 7 longest suspensions in NBA history. At number 7, we have Kermit Washington with a suspension of 26 games. Now, it's hard to believe that Washington only got suspended for 26 games, considering the magnitude of his violation. Back in 1973, he was the 5th overall pick for the Lakers, but his first 4 seasons with the team were pretty average. Fast forward to 1977, and things got wild during a Rockets and Lakers matchup. A scuffle broke out, and Washington threw a punch at Rudy Tomjanovich, which is widely considered one of the most brutal non-boxing punches in sports history. Rudy T suffered a broken nose, a broken jaw, a cerebral concussion, and he even had spinal fluid leaking into his mouth. It took him years to fully recover, but Washington only got hit with a 26-game suspension. Despite this, Washington went on to become an all-star and all-defensive team player with the Trail Blazers in the early 80s before retiring in 1982. At number 6, we have Steven Jackson with a 30-game suspension. Now, let's be real. It's not surprising that Jackson's on this list. Back in his prime, he was one of the best guards and forwards in the game, even though he never made an all-star appearance. With a peak of 20 points per game and a knack for making big plays on both ends of the court. But let's talk about the infamous malice at the Palace. Jackson was playing for the Indiana Pacers at the time, and he jumped into the stands to defend his teammate Ron Artest, who had just been hit by a fan. In all the chaos, Jackson actually punched a different fan. The NBA did not take this lightly and issued some of its harshest punishments ever to the Pacers and Pistons players involved. Jackson got hit with a 30-game suspension without pay, a year of probation, a $250 fine, community service, and mandatory anger management classes. Ouch! At number 5, we have Javaris Crittenton with a 38-game suspension. You might not have heard of him since he was still a rookie when he got into some serious trouble. Crittenton was drafted 19th overall by the Lakers in 2007, but was traded to Memphis after just 22 games. He eventually landed with the Wizards, where everything went downhill fast. It all started over gambling debts when Crittenton threatened teammate Gilbert Arenas with a firearm. He didn't actually pull out the gun, but it was discovered that he kept an unlicensed firearm in his locker. As a result, Crittenton was suspended for 38 games by the NBA and sentenced to probation and community service by the court. Sadly, his reputation never really recovered, and he never played in the NBA again. At number 4 on our countdown, we have the one and only Gilbert Arenas, or Agent Zero as he liked to call himself. Arenas was known for his scoring prowess, as he went to 3 straight All-Star games from 2005 to 2007 and earned 3 All-NBA teams as well. However, Arenas' career took a dark turn when he brought a gun into the Washington Wizards locker room in 2009. Arenas referred to himself as Agent Zero and had the habit of carrying unloaded firearms with him. However, things took a drastic turn when he actually pulled out his gun and threatened his teammate Javaris Crittenton with it over a gambling debt. Now, while the gun was unloaded, it was still unlicensed and illegal to bring it into a professional sports locker room. The league took swift action and suspended Arenas for the remainder of the season, which amounted to 50 games, as he had already played 32. After serving his suspension, Arenas returned to the court but was plagued with injuries that ultimately shortened his career. He played just 87 games over his last 2 seasons before leaving the NBA to play in China. At number 3, we have Latrell Sprewell, a fierce competitor in his prime who was known for his scoring and defense. Sprewell was a 3-time All-Star who had a great rookie season in 1993 and then went on to average 24.2 points per game in 97 suspension while playing 80 games for the Warriors. However, during the 97-98 season, things took a turn for the worse when Spruill got into a physical altercation with his coach, PJ Carlesimo, during a practice session. Spruill choked, punched, and threatened his coach, which resulted in him getting suspended for 10 games by the league. The Warriors terminated his $23.7 million contract and then suspended him for a year, but Spruill appealed and got the suspension reduced to just 68 games. Despite his impressive career, Spruill was never the same player after this incident. At number 2, we have Ron Artest, or should we say Metta World Peace. Artest was known for being a fierce defender, but he was also a bit of a wild card. In 2004, he was involved in one of the craziest brawls ever seen on an NBA court. It all started with a heated exchange between Artest and Ben Wallace, but it quickly spiraled out of control. A fan actually threw a drink at Artest, and he went charging into the stands, throwing punches left and right. This incident led to an 86-game suspension, which was the second longest in NBA history at the time. Artest was suspended for the remainder of the season, which means that he missed 73 regular season games and 13 playoff games. After the incident, Artest changed his name to Metta World Peace, but his reputation as a hot-headed player definitely stuck with him. And the moment you've all been waiting for, coming in at number 1, we've got O.J. Mayo, the 3rd overall pick in the 2008 NBA Draft. This dude had some seriously high hopes coming out of USC and even delivered with an impressive rookie season of 18.5 points per game and 1.1 steals per game. He later joined the Milwaukee Bucks in 2013 and still had potential despite a slight dip in his numbers. But things took a turn for the worse when in 2016, Mayo was hit with a ban of 2 seasons after failing the NBA's anti-drug program. This wasn't Mayo's first drug-related suspension either. He'd already been hit with a 10-game suspension in 2011 for a positive performance-enhancing drug. Although the NBA never released details on the specific reasons behind Mayo's latest suspension, they made it clear that they were done with him for a while. Even after Mayo became eligible for reinstatement, he never quite made it back to the league. Alright, so which of these suspensions did you think was the harshest? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos just like this, don't forget to smash that like button and hit the subscribe button.